Okay, now boys, the next is that the depositional work of wind. Now, in the depositional work of wind, the first point is the sand dunes. Now, sand dunes comes into existence whenever an obstruction is found along the path of the blowing wind, which is carrying sufficient sediments. As these winds comes across an obstruction, it results the wind to collide against the obstruction, and finally those fine carried particles, it settles down. And when this fine particle settles down, it results in the collection of sand, and these collection of sand results in the formation of sand dunes. Next, sifting of sand dunes. Now if you look at this sand dunes are mobile in nature. It means that it does not remain static in one place, and it keeps on moving with the direction of the wind. As the wind blows constantly towards a certain direction, it results those sand dunes to be moved from one place to another place by the help of the wind, and resulting the shifting of sand dunes. Next, Barkhan. Now, Barkhan is also called as Barchans. Now, this Barkhan, it is also a sand dune having two horns towards the leeward slope, clear, and it has convex windward side and concave leeward slope. A constant wind and limited supply of sand is essential conditions for the formation of barkhans. Now listen, whenever a wind blows towards this direction, whenever it blows towards in the constant direction, the wind starts to deposit its heavier particles, especially those heavy particles which cannot be carried by the wind. As it starts to deposit, the wind starts to blow above those particles which has been deposited. So as it blows above those particles or those sediments deposited by the wind, this deposition starts to accumulate. It means that the deposition becomes much more higher. As it becomes much more higher, it results the windward side to have a gentle slope, that is the convex side. It means that it has a gentle slope as well as it has a convex slope, whereas the other portion or the leeward side, it has a concave slope. Now this concave slope comes into existence when the deposition of sediments keeps on increasing. As the deposition of sediments keeps on increasing, the height of the sand dune also keeps on increasing. So as the height of the sand dune keeps on increasing, the leeward side becomes much more steeper and steeper, and finally it results into the formation or the birth of two horns on both the sides, resulting in the formation of barkhans. Now listen, now this barkhan comes into existence whenever there is a constant blow of the wind in one particular direction. If there is a change in the direction of the wind, then the barkhan will never come into existence, because the barkhan will be completely destroyed. And secondly is that when the winds are blowing, those winds should carry sufficient sediments with those winds, then only the barkhan comes into existence. Next, sheaf or longitudinal sand dunes. Now sheaf or longitudinal sand dunes means those sand dunes which are formed towards the parallel direction of the wind. It means that when the wind blows in between the two deposition of the sand dunes, and when the wind blows parallel towards the direction of these sand dunes, those sand dunes are called as longitudinal sand dunes. Next, shadow. Now sand shadow comes into existence after the formation of sand dunes. Now sand dunes comes into existence because of the obstruction caused by any living thing or non-living thing across the direction of the wind. As the wind keeps on blowing and it meets with the obstruction, it leaves behind those finer particles, resulting the other side of those deposition to come under the sand shadow zone, resulting in the formation of sand shadow. Next, Leos. Now Leos is actually a yellowish fine dust particles. Okay, it is similar with the sand. It is a sand, but it is yellowish in color. Now these Leos is the finest particles. It is the finest particles of sand brought down by the wind over a long distance, because it is the finest particles and it can be carried to a very far away places, resulting in the formation of Leos. Now if you look at here, now this Leos is so fine that even if you apply pressure, if you just take a pinch of the Leos and if you apply pressure between your two fingers, it will start to crumble. Means it will start to crumble, it will start to break within your fingertips, and that is why it is also referred as a Leos. Now this Leos has one important characteristics. It means that whenever this Leos gets wet, it becomes very sticky, and whenever it becomes dry, it becomes very dusty. So boys, these are the few things which you need to remember, and I have already told you this chapter will be diagram based question.